Hi everyone and welcome to my online classes. I'm going to come today with a little class for yoga for beginners. So some foundational movements like the sun salutations and some of the very basic warrior poses and things like that, and how you can adapt them and modify them when you are practicing other classes. So I have a big belief that if you know the modifications from the get-go, then you will be able to take them into any of the other classes, like intermediate ones and slightly longer classes, to make your life a little bit easier. So what I would recommend is coming to class today with a couple of blocks, if you have them, or a couple of books even that you can take your hands on if you need them to obviously prop yourself up in any forward folds. And yeah, when you're ready, we'll come to the mat and we'll start to kind of take a little practice together. I hope you're ready and I hope you're excited for starting your yoga practice, whether you are just starting off or whether you are experienced already and just want to go back to some of those foundational alignments. Okay, welcome. So if you are joining me today, you will be needing a couple of blocks. You can modify with other things like any wooden bricks that you might have, or any books, things that are a bit solid and firm, even like boxes like Tupperware might help, things like that. Just play around with what you've got if you don't have any props. But what we are going to be doing is starting off in a seat. So I'm going to show you how to set up in a seated posture. If you find it uncomfortable to sit in a cross leg for a long time, you're just going to take one block either side of each other on the low setting, and you can take a blanket on top of this and cushions on top as well, and this is just going to help lift your hips in a seated posture, helping you go a little bit further, have a longer spine, helping to take all that pressure off your lower back. So once you've positioned your blocks, blanket, cushion, everything else that you may be taking, you're going to just come over and take your sit bones on there. So by having them side by side, you'll already feel a little difference there. There's more space for your hips to rest on instead of just sitting on one block. And there's a little gap here for your heels to work on so you can find that cross leg. Beautiful. And whether your knees are still up here or they're quite low now, it doesn't matter. As long as you feel comfortable. You can always take a blanket under the knees, under the heels and the ankles if you need to, just to soften it, or practice this on a carpet until the ankles get a little bit more toughened and can take the pressure. And wherever you are, a big part of our yoga is meditation. So we will just start in a seat, finding ourselves nice and comfortable. And just sigh out any of those exhales, just let them go. And a lot of people have an idea around meditation that it's around finding stillness, or it's about eliminating thoughts from our mind. But in my experience, I find that meditation is more just a moment to observe how we are in this time and this space. So while we sit here in this meditation, hopefully you're nice and comfy. You can always take this lying down if you prefer. We'll just take a second to check in with our physical body and see how it feels. Any areas of tightness already starting to surface? Any areas of tension in your muscles and your joints that may already exist? And just enjoying some nice deep breaths in and audible sighs out. Observing with your breath, with each inhale, there's a slight lengthening of your spine and your crown of your head. And with your exhales, there'll be a drop of the shoulders, a weightiness into your arms. And just getting yourself into the space, observing where the space is and how you're feeling right now. And as we go through our meditation, a big part is checking in with any strong feelings that may be there today, strong emotions. Not trying to get rid of them, not trying to change them, just simply observing and noticing them. Our yoga is a lot about practicing, just learning about ourselves and observing and accepting where we are right now in this moment. So there's no need to put any extra pressure on yourself to be a certain way here. And then taking our awareness a little bit over into the mind now and just check in with the thoughts and how you may be feeling in the thought pattern. If there's any dominant thoughts there in the surface. Whether there's lots of thoughts rushing around your mind or whether after a few breaths in this meditation you feel yourself getting a little bit more settled in your mind. As we take 1 or 2 more breaths here. And then wherever you are, we'll take our hands into the heart center. And in this moment, reminding yourself of what brings you to the mat, setting your intention and what it might be. Maybe you have mental health. Maybe you want a little bit more clarity, a bit more time for stillness, flexibility, strength. Maybe these are your goals and this is what draws you to the mat right now. Reminding yourself of those intentions. Taking 1 more deep inhale. And then exhale. Oh, let it all go. Let the hands come down. And then we'll slowly start to bring ourselves into some warm-up poses. So if that was a lot on your ankles, your legs, give them a little stretch out. Roll them out. There's nothing stopping you in a class from just breaking off and doing what feels good in your body. So I always encourage that. Do whatever feels good. Take some shoulder rolls, roll out your wrists, your neck, whatever you kind of need to ease off any tightness that may have built up in that seated posture. And then we'll take that seat once more, but to modify, we're only going to take the left heel in and extend the right leg out. You can have a little softness to your knee. You don't need to lock that out. And then as we inhale, we'll try to draw the belly in and find a length in our spine sitting tall. And then as we exhale, just lean forwards. First variation, you're just going to place the hands there. Support yourself to stop you falling over and falling too deep into this pose. There's no need to go really far here. And if you are just starting off, start small. And over time, you can start to explore different depths. But you'll start to maybe feel this going down the inside of the leg and feeling it in that left hip maybe as we do an external rotation. Final couple of breaths here. Maybe start to take the hands a little further, leaning forwards as we do that instead of rounding even further into the spine. Trying to draw the belly in and keep that heart lifted as you go. And you'll feel a significant difference in the depth. Still stretching into that leg. Taking 1 or 2 more breaths here. And then inhale, take it all the way up to that seat. And then we'll switch sides. So again, modify if you need to. Roll those ankles out if you need that little break. And then bring that right foot in. And the left one goes out. Inhale to start with. Exhale, a little gentle lean forwards with the heart. Trying to keep the chest nice and tall, proud. Close the eyes if you feel and you want that. Taking 1 or 2 more breaths here, just giving yourself a moment. You can just take some gentle little sways if it feels nicer. Distracting you from the stillness, which can feel hard when you're just starting your practice. To feel comfortable in that stillness and in those moments of pausing. Taking 1 more breath here. And then inhale, take it all the way up to that seat. Now we're going to bring it onto our hands and knees now into a tabletop position. So you can take the blocks out now. You don't need them for now. And we're going to start on our hands and knees now. So you're going to bring the knees directly under your hips, so they are nice and stacked. And then you're going to bring your wrists underneath your shoulders. Not your fingers, because that's going to be too much of an angle on your hip, on your wrist. The wrist wants to be right under the shoulders there. And if this is still too much on your wrists, take a little fold in your mat over at the top. And then where the fold is the thickest, that's where you're going to base the base of your palm. And then the fingers will come down towards the ground. And that's going to help reduce the angle on your wrist, giving it a little bit more stability as well, if you do struggle here. And just take a moment just to get used to the alignment. You can take a blanket under the knees or do the same fold under the knees as well to give yourself some extra padding. And then from here, we're going to just curl the tailbone up to the ceiling, drop your navel down towards the ground. And as we do that, we're going to roll our shoulders back and guide the heart forwards and just lift the gaze. You can go to just a little bit ahead of the mat, or you can go all the way up to the wall if it feels good. These are our cat-cows. We do this arching of our back on an inhale. And then as we exhale, we will round our back instead by tucking the tailbone under, squeezing our belly, pressing into the hands to separate the shoulder blades and round our upper back. And then as we send our gaze down to our navel, you'll feel that stretch going into the shoulders, into your back body. Following your own breath, with each inhale, you're going to arch into the back, lift the gaze, and with each exhale you will round the back and tuck the tailbone, shifting the gaze down to your navel. Only taking a couple more breaths here and we'll have a breather. Following your own breath here. And then releasing the mat if you folded it. We're going to go into our first foundational pose of our practice, the most important one you need to get comfortable with, which is our child pose. So grabbing a hold of your blocks, take the knees nice and wide here. And then what you want to do, I like both blocks just to give myself some stability on my hips. We're going to take those underneath the knees, just wiggle them back so they come under your hips. Bringing the big toes together and then sitting back onto those blocks. And that's going to give you a little bit more space here. Dropping your forehead down towards the ground. If that's not accessible though, you can come onto the forearms. Just work the chest down. Modifying here even further, you can get a rolled up blanket and just take it behind your knees if you feel like you've got too much pressure on the knees here. And if you do feel like the forehead is close to the floor but it won't reach, it's really important you have something to rest it on so you don't strain your neck. Take your hands together, one on top of the other, and just bring your forehead down on your hands there. And just giving yourself that time. And it'll take a little bit of playing around with your blocks to get them nice and comfy where your hips are. You want to give your thighs a bit of space still to drop, but you want to take your hips down, mainly onto the blocks. Taking 1 or 2 more breaths here. This is our resting pose, where we just come for a breather if we need to. So you want to make sure it's nice and comfy for you. we take one more breath here. And then from here, wherever you are, we're going to come onto our hands and knees again to transition to our next foundational pose, which is a downward facing dog. So some of you may already be aware of this pose, but to start and to get into this, we'll come back to that tabletop. You can bring that fold underneath your wrists again if you need it. And we'll curl the toes under, inhaling there to start with. And then as we exhale, we'll lift the hips up. And as we do that, we're going to curl the hips towards the ceiling and then drop your chest back and your gaze back towards your toes. Now actively push into the hands, into your shoulders to lengthen out your spine and have a really generous bend in your knees if you need to. There's no shame in having to bend the knees in any forward folds if you've got really tight hamstrings and calf muscles. But really stay nice and grounded in your toes wherever you are, pressing into your hands as you separate the fingers a little bit evenly. You don't want the fingers together, you want them spread out. And then continuing to draw the belly button in, lifting the tailbone up to the ceiling. And then from here, we'll shift the gaze forwards and we'll step the feet to the front of our mat. Now take as many steps as you need, bringing them about hip distance apart. Now, if you can't get all the way to the front of the mat, start in the middle. You know, there's nothing wrong with starting your salutations into the middle of the mat. And then from here, bringing your hands onto the shins, let's inhale and just lengthen out our spine, shift the gaze to the top of the mat. And then exhale, forward fold, bend the knees, rest your thighs under your chest. And then take a hold of your opposite elbows and just let yourself have a little rock side to side or disengage the shoulders. Another option is to hold your legs, grabbing a hold of the opposite wrist behind your calf muscles if you are there, behind your knees if you're up here maybe. Giving yourself that little breather to switch your shoulders off and to switch your neck off. And then from here, let your arms go. And very slowly round yourself up to a stand. Letting the head come up last. Let the shoulders roll back and away. Beautiful. We'll get going. We're going to explore today 3 salutations. So we're going to go into a half salutation, a Surya Namaskar A and a Surya Namaskar B, which are 3 of the most common salutations that you'll get in a practice. So I will show you how you can modify this and take a different variation in a few different ways. So starting in the middle of the mat, if you need, feet are hip distance apart for that space and that access. From here, inhale, take the arms up over the head. Palms are facing together and gazing up to the ceiling. As we exhale, forward fold over the legs and soften the knees as you go. Dangle the arms, hold onto the ankles if you can, or the legs. And then bringing your hands down onto your shins. Inhale, lift up to that half lift. And then exhale, bring the hands to the front of your mat, shoulder width apart, and step back onto your knees. Into that tabletop position. First variation, we'll inhale there just to tuck the tailbone, draw the belly button in. And then as we exhale, we'll round into the back. Modified version of a chaturanga. Then inhale, round, arch the back, our cat-cows. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Lift the hips back and up. Pausing there. Just giving ourselves a couple of breaths here. And then if that is enough, take your knees down, toes together, child pose. Take in 1 or 2 more breaths here. This is our Surya Namaskar A. One of the most common ways of warming our bodies up through our practice, especially in more dynamic flows like Vinyasa, Hatha. And then from here, wherever you are, we'll slowly bring the feet back to the center of our mat. Inhale for your half lift, hold on to the shins. Exhale, forward fold, down we go. Inhale with a strong back, lift it all the way up, engaging our core, palms face, gaze to the ceiling. Exhale, hands come down. Now that's Surya Namaskar A. If that's too much for you, then play around with a half salutation, which I'm going to show to you now, which is just the start point of our practice, of our salutation. So we'll start inhaling and taking the arms up over the head. And exhale, forward fold over your legs. Soften your knees as you go. Inhale to find your half lift. And then exhale, we'll come back to that ragdoll. So forward folding, holding onto opposite elbows. Gaze in between the legs. Disengage your shoulders, your neck. Breathing. Feeling that stretch into your legs. And then, as everyone else may carry on with their full salutations, you may then just inhale, sweep it all the way up. Arms come over, and then exhale, hands come down into your Tadasana, mountain pose. Resting there, taking some breaths. There's no shame in just skipping all the other downward dogs and anything that may be too much. Now, if you want to explore going a bit more into your sun salutations, your Surya Namaskar A, then please feel free to maybe try stepping the feet forwards a little bit more. Still hip distance. And then inhale, take your arms up over the head. Maybe you touch the palms together and gaze to your thumbs. Exhale, forward fold over your legs. Inhale to a half lift. Again, hold onto your shins. Soften your knees if you need. And then exhale, plant your hands down and step back into a plank this time. Instead of tabletop, a plank. Inhale there, bring your knees down if you need. And then as we exhale, we're going to lower the chest down, chaturanga. Bend the elbows and slowly or quickly lowering the chest down. Release those toes. And then we'll go through some back bends here. The first one we're going to explore is our Sphinx pose. So bring in the elbows under the shoulders and the hands will be parallel, or you can bring them a bit more together if you are a little bit weaker in the shoulders or the shoulders are getting tired. Taking 1 or 2 more breaths here. Soften your glutes. Pressing the tops of your feet down into the mat. Squeezing your shoulder blades together. Breathing into your belly, into the mat. And then from here, you can just bring your head down, elbows out wide, create a little cushion with your hands, and just give yourself that breather for a minute. As I talk you through the following pose, which is a baby cobra, a place where maybe you can take, instead of the cat-cows or following on from a chaturanga, you may take the full cobra, but not do a full cobra. So if that's you and you feel like you do have a bit more space in your back to go beyond the Sphinx, we'll bring our hands underneath our shoulders. This is us after our chaturanga, and then roll the shoulders back and inhale. Just push it into the hands, into your hips, and lift your chest a little bit. It doesn't have to be much. And then lower your chest down, push up through your knees, and then from here, curl your toes under. Inhale to prepare, exhale. Let's send the hips back and up. Downward facing dog. Soften your knees. Curl your tailbone up towards the ceiling. Actively push into the hands, straightening the arms. And shifting that gaze between between your feet. Resting here for 1 or 2 more breaths. And then from here, shifting your gaze forwards and stepping your feet to the front of your mat. Middle if you need. Inhale, coming into your flat back, still a softness to your knees. Exhale, forward fold completely. Reaching towards the ground, behind your legs. And then inhale, take it all the way up. Nice, strong lift, and then exhale, take it down. Beautiful. We're going to explore Surya Namaskar B now. So in this flow and this vinyasa, we get a little bit more strong through our warriors. And I'm going to show you how to modify. So as it is intense, I'm going to go through the variations that are actually a little bit softer beforehand. So we'll do the cat-cow instead of the chaturanga and the cobra. But if you want to go for the full cobra and chaturanga flow, the full Surya Namaskar A, then go for it. I will prompt you when you can take it. And then let's start. Let's inhale, take the arms up over the head. And exhale, forward fold, reaching down, catching the legs. Inhale, find your flat back and lift up. And then exhale, plant your hands down, bend your knees, bring the knees back, tabletop. Inhale there to just get your breath. And then exhale, round into your back. Inhale, arch the back. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Now this is where we go into our warrior. So you may be able to take a little step forwards with the right foot and then bring a little helping hand to guide it a little bit more forwards. Now you want it roughly behind the right wrist. You can step it even further back if you need. And then lower your left heel down to make it about 90-degree or 45-degree angle. And then from here, walk the hands up the leg if you need to. We'll inhale, take it all the way up. Bending into that front knee, so you want the knee over your ankle and you want a nice straight leg here in the back. Beautiful. Arms will come over the head. Modify if you need to. Take the hands on the hips if the shoulders are tired. Inhale, lift the heart though. And then as we exhale, we'll take the hands back down under the shoulders and step back into that tabletop if you go in there, or knee plank if you come in with me now. Inhale. Exhale, chaturanga, lower the chest. Inhale into that cobra, mini lift, sphinx if you need. Exhale, downward facing dog. Curl the toes under and back. Bring in yourself for a moment here. And then we'll go into the other side, modifying our warrior one as we shift the foot forwards as far as it will go, and then maybe use a helping hand to bring it a little bit further. And then spin the right heel down. And then inhale, walk up the leg if you need. Take the arms up over the head. Option 2, bring the hands down onto the hips. Taking a breath or two here, finding ourselves settling. Grounding into your feet. Feeling that stretch in the right thigh. Feeling the strength in this left quad. And then from here, we'll shift the hands down and step back into your plank. Table, if you go in there, knees down. Inhale. Exhale, chaturanga. Flow through your cat-cows if you prefer. Inhale, cobra, lift up. Sphinx, whatever you're doing. Exhale. Now we'll take a child pose. So bring the big toes together. Send the hips back. Rest on the forearms if you need that extra space today. Wiggling the hips out if you need. Resting the forehead on your hands if you want to take that variation today. Full variation, you extend the arms long over your head and bring the forehead down onto the floor. Resting your ribs down onto your thighs. Reaching your tailbone down towards your heels. You can take the blocks under your hips if you need. Taking one more breath here, wherever you are. And then from here, wherever you are, we'll slowly shift ourselves forwards onto our hands and knees. And we'll take ourselves into a seat. So just roll onto one side, take the heels out to one side. You're going to want 1 or 2 blocks at this point if you need it. And we're going to take that seat again. So bring in your blocks underneath your hips again for a little bit of extra space and lift. And I'll come facing you guys so you can see. And we're going to extend the legs long in front. Now at this point, if you need a little blanket rolled up underneath your knees, you can take that as well, or a cushion, just to soften them. Or you can just bend them and keep them bent. And then from here, let's inhale, take the arms long over our head. And then as we exhale, we're going to take the thighs down or up to meet the ribs as we go. And then bring in the hands down to grip wherever. They may come down onto your feet. They may come to the ankle. And then once you get a grip there, you can soften the legs. Maybe feel the stretch in the hamstrings. Maybe feeling it into the calf muscles if you have your feet flexed. Just taking 1 or 2 more breaths here. And just enjoying your breath, enjoying it traveling into the back body. If you feel like you have a bit more space, you can always slide the heels out a little bit more, but keep that belly button drawn in, keep that contact with your thighs and your ribs. But if you want, you can let the head go, soften it a bit, sway it side to side. This is our seated forward fold, quite a conventional, traditional practice and asana. We use this a lot in our classes. So it's important, to modify and to take the props. No teacher is going to look down or should ever look down on you taking a bit more time to get into a pose. It should always be at your pace. So don't feel pressure to keep going and not taking any of the props if you need them. Just keep them nearby your mat and you can grab a hold of them really easily when you do. And then from here, let's inhale and take ourselves up to that seat. Moving the blocks out now. We're going to take ourselves onto our backs, finding ourselves getting ready for our final rest, our Shavasana. So to do our Shavasana, we'll take ourselves down onto our backs. However you get there, don't worry about rolling down, needing to use your core. You can just lie down nice and flat. Take your knees in. If you need a bit more space, you can hold behind the hamstrings or take the knees nice and wide. If you have a little bit more space, you can bring them together, hold on to the tops of the knees there or the bottoms of the knees. Take a little moment rolling out your lower back. And then whenever you're ready, bring in your legs down. If you do suffer with lower back sensitivity, then it's always wise just to keep the knees bent and plant the feet, angling the heels out to one side and just let your knees fall in towards each other. And then wherever you are, if you want to take a full Shavasana, we're going to bring the legs out a little bit wider than hip distance and bring the arms out wherever you are. So the palms can face up to the ceiling. So that might be down near the hips or it might be up here in line with the shoulders. It's up to you to listen to where your space is. And then wherever you are, take a deep breath in here, into the belly, the chest, and the shoulders. Exhale it out completely and just let it all go. Giving yourself some time here just to relax through after a practice. Our Shavasana is a place for us just to disengage all our muscles, surrender ourselves down into our mat and just let ourselves drop all that tension away from our body. You'll want the breath to be nice and natural and comfortable. And just taking a moment here just to soften everything completely. Letting the feet drop away, the knees disengage, softening your glutes, your shoulders, your elbows and wrists, your fingers, your jaw, your cheeks, your eyelids, your forehead. Just taking a breath or two longer here in your Shavasana, your rest. And then wherever you are, start to deepen your breath. Take a deep breath into your belly, your chest, and your shoulders. Exhale, big sigh out through your mouth. Let it go. Wiggling your fingers and your toes. Rolling out your wrists. Maybe extend the arms longer over your head. Give yourself that full body stretch from your toes all the way into your fingers. And then bringing your knees into your chest, giving yourself that full body hug again. And then rolling over onto your side. Finding yourself in a fetal position here. Just cradling your head and your body, just giving it a little bit of space. And then whenever you're ready, after you've had a couple of breaths, you'll slowly start to make your way back into that comfortable seat. Grab the blocks if you need to. There's no need to rush getting into that seat. Get comfy, as you're going to be taking a moment to just reflect on how you're feeling. Cross the legs, easy seat Sukhasana. Hands come down onto your lap or your knees. And then wherever you are, after a couple of breaths here, we'll take our hands into the heart. Taking a deep inhale wherever you are. And then exhale, lowering your head to your heart and whispering namaste to yourself. Namaste, everyone, and thank you. I hope you didn't get too much with the sirens there at the end of that class, but hopefully you managed to successfully get through. Don't worry if you struggled with certain bits. It just takes time and practice to really get into it. So with the platform, working from home, you can just come back to this class and keep doing it over and over until finally you start to feel your wrists, your shoulders all strengthening up. Maybe your legs getting a little bit more flexible. So it all takes time, but hopefully you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.